Okay, I've got 5 o'clock, so we'll go ahead and get started. Work sessions are an opportunity for board members to discuss issues informally with staff and invited guests. The board encourages members of the public to attend work session and listen to the discussion, but there's generally no opportunity for public comment. Members of the public wishing to address the board are welcome to do so during the board's regularly scheduled meetings. First is a discussion of the formal agenda. Do we have any questions or comments on tonight's agenda? Okay, and then we do not have meetings. No meeting next week, no meeting Christmas week. Our next meeting will actually be January 7th, correct? Okay, and we'll have our regular cadence in January. All right, any other comments or questions on agendas? We'll move on to our topic on the work session, which is the draft 2026 State Legislative Guide. And Amanda Rapinchuk, our management and policy analysts. Welcome.
Thank you, Chair, members of the board. Can you hear me okay?
And I can't hear. Oh.
Can you hear me now?
Amanda, I think we can, Chair. Can you hear okay? I'm not sure if the chair can, but looks like all the other commissioners can hear right now. So, okay.
Okay. Well, good evening, Chair, members of the board. Thank you for having me. As you know, the Oregon Legislature convenes annually in Salem for legislative session. In odd number years, there's a long session which can last up to 160 days, and this includes the adoption of the state's biennial budget, which is the session we just had. And then in even-numbered years, there's the short session, which is limited to 35 days and typically focuses on budget adjustments, policy refinements, and urgent or time-sensitive issues. So the 2026 legislative session is a short one and will be taking place within a very challenging fiscal environment. Recent statewide revenue projections point to an $888.2 million reduction in anticipated general fund resources for the current biennium. This decline reflects a combination of slower economic growth at both the national and state levels and the effects of recent federal fiscal policy changes, including H.R. 1. These conditions suggest fewer discretionary dollars, greater scrutiny of fiscal proposals, and a continued emphasis on maintaining core services while finding ways to stretch existing resources. So in preparation for the session, county staff have put together a draft legislative guide, which you may have noticed this mirrors the same format as the guide from this past session. It's a draft document outlining the county's guiding principles, engagement framework, anticipated legislative priorities, and key dates for the session. It's intended to serve as a living guide for the county and CFM advocates as we coordinate our advocacy efforts. And the guide will continue to evolve as needed and under your board's direction. So for the next few minutes, I was thinking that I can go over some of the information presented in the guide, highlight proposed legislative priorities, and then turn it back to your board for any feedback that you may have for staff or any questions about the session. Does that sound good?
Sounds good.
Perfect. So towards the end of the guide, there's a list of some key dates, which are either identified as confirmed or estimates. We're waiting on the official 2026 legislative calendar to be released. But on Monday, I saw the calendar on OLIS, which is the state's essentially online platform, was updated. So I imagine the official PDF of that calendar should be coming out shortly. Most importantly, the session is scheduled to begin February 2nd and will end no later than March 8th. I just want to make a quick note that the end date that I put on the draft guide is incorrect. I accidentally put March 9th. That should be March 8th. So just a side note. In regard to the number of bills we can expect, it will be significantly less than what we saw this past session. During long sessions, lawmakers have no limit on the number of bills they can file, which is why there were more than 3,300 bills introduced in 2025. Fortunately, short sessions do have bill limits, so we'll not see anywhere near that same volume. So for this session, both the governor and chief justice of the state Supreme Court can file up to 3 bills. Members of the House and Senate are allowed up to 2 bills each. Each legislative committee may file up to 3 bills. And then there are a few exceptions to these limits, which include the Joint Committee on Ways and Means, the Senate President, the House Committee on Rules, and Conduct Committees. That being said, given the current fiscal landscape and the short session's limited timeline, we anticipate a more narrowed policy agenda. The co-chairs of the Ways and Means Committee have signaled that the legislature will prioritize measures that address projected funding gaps and urgent needs and that align with existing commitments. Also, they're essentially not interested in new spending proposals unless they result in long-term savings. And so, as you know, last month, state agencies were required to provide the legislature with 5% reduction options, along with lists of programs created since July of 2021. A few weeks ago, during legislative days, state agencies then presented on what they had submitted. And at this time, it's unclear what specific reductions the legislature is considering or kind of narrowing in on, but both CFM and county staff are continuing to monitor that closely. In regards to keeping your board updated during the session, I'll be providing you a new internal tracker with bills relevant to the county as a tool for updates in real time. But I did want to get your feedback on regular legislative updates to your board. During the long session, staff provided brief updates at almost each board work session, and I'm wondering if you'd prefer that same format or more of an as-needed basis since the scope for the upcoming session is more narrowed. I don't know if anybody has any thoughts.
Yeah, I'd like to hear from the rest of the commission. I don't know that we need them every meeting, but Commissioner Thompson?
Well, the political junkies in the House love those, sir. So it's kind of like dessert.
Would you like to have them every meeting, Commissioner Thompson? Okay. Commissioner Banks?
I'm not adverse to every meeting, but if we're overloaded, keeping it to the topics of county concern.
Commissioner Webb?
I would like them at every meeting because it's important, first of all, because the short session just moves so quickly. And it also helps with my AOC committees to know exactly what we need to be espousing at AOC meetings, which are usually more often than ours during the short session. So you can't give me, I'm one of those brain hogs who, who can't be overburdened with data.
All right. The more the better, Commissioner Webb.
Yes.
Commissioner Wakua?
Yeah, I'm all for the information. I think time permitting, I think if our schedule's bogged down, we should streamline a little bit if there's nothing really to report back on. But otherwise, I'm pretty fluid with it. Whatever.
Yeah, sounds good. So it sounds like we'd like to have it every meeting and provide the updates accordingly. When do we start them? Are we starting them at the session or starting in advance of the session, or how do we want to do this? Commissioner Banks?
I'd like to start advance the session just so that we can align our agenda of where the county wishes to engage the most.
Commissioner Thompson?
I think as soon as possible. I read the Oregonian today, and here's a letter from Jason Brandt talking about how we're trying to cripple his industry, and they produce jobs and revenue. So I think the session has already begun, and it'll be good to get us lined up and functioning.
Anyone else? Okay, sounds like we'll go ahead and start, first meeting in January, start doing updates and have those every week. And I know that things do move fast, especially in the short session. So I think it is wise to stay on top of it. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And then last, I just wanted to touch on the legislative priorities section of the draft guide. This time it's organized into 3 different categories. We have primary initiatives, which notes legislative concepts that the county is directly engaged in, high priority session driven issues. And this includes high priority items for the county that we're anticipating either we know for sure are coming up or may come up in the session. And then other high priority items, which includes essentially other high priority items that that we at least want to acknowledge or keep on our radar, essentially in the queue in case they do come up in the session, or just making sure that we're continuing to communicate that priority. And since your board is already familiar with the issues that are outlined in this section, I don't have to bore you with going through each one, but I am interested in any feedback you may have or any questions about a particular item.
Any questions? Commissioner Banks?
No question per se. I just mentioned this to county manager today, and I wanted to mention it to the group as a whole. I would really like for us to come out in support of 4-H and extension. They're being requested to have a 7.5% decrease in their budget, and so 4-H extension is obviously extremely important to our community. And then the other one that I'd really like to keep our eyeballs on is the education, because CTE potentially could be more impacted than they already were in the previous session. So just hoping that my fellow commissioners will see the value in protecting our CTE programs and also advocating for a 4-H extension.
Thank you, Commissioner Banks. I agree with that 100%. Any other comments? I just want to say how helpful this is. I think this legislative guide is terrific, and having this widely distributed is a good idea too, because it lets everybody know, we're on the same page, and these are all very valid, matters of importance for us, very high priority items. And well, not all of them high priority, but at least a lot of them are high priority items. And I do appreciate the fact that this is boiled down in this 10-page document. Very, very helpful for me to track throughout the session, and then also for others.
Chair Quillo, members of the board, if I might, real quick.
Yep.
I think part of what I think will be challenging for all counties this next session are some of the underlying principles that have been part of our legislative plan for a long time, and that is, not being expected to backfill state reduced funding, not having additional unfunded mandates from the state as the state departments have been looking at ways that they can reduce money. Some of the things that are on the list are things that would reduce revenues to local governments. And so I think as we go through the session, we'll have to watch those things really closely. I think this session, like a lot of short sessions is there's going to be a lot of defense played more than offense. And I think most offense is going to be played by the state as they navigate some of the significant state issues. But there is going to be a lot of pressure to reduce some of the revenues that go to local government. So I just want to share that with the board.
Yeah. Thank you, County Manager.
And also, Chair, if you wouldn't mind, Amanda, can you just kind of go over the capital project side of it real quick? The capital project side is not just a state issue, it's also a federal issue. As we talk to our federal lobbyists, we have been successful getting some money both at the state and the federal level. As you may know, we received just over $1 million grant from Business Oregon for the Westport Ferry Road, and then we got a set aside of 1.1 or an earmark for $1.1 million for the 911 communication system, which is the hardware for that system. That obviously has not moved anywhere at the federal level because they're still on continuing resolutions. But there are there is a placeholder at the federal level. So we'll be searching for additional capital funds for some of these projects, but I just thought we could just go over them real quick, just so your board has some awareness on those priorities.
Of course. So on your list, that first one is a project that Don mentioned, the public safety radio equipment and 911 consolidation. Again, there's one funding opportunity that we're waiting to hear back from in terms of federal appropriations, but this is still one that's on the list, and whether that means looking out for bills during the session that this funding could be relevant to this project, or continuing to apply for federal appropriations. And our federal affairs team through CFM Advocates is also working on a federal agenda that's looking specifically at projects that they think would be most competitive in applying for federal appropriations requests for this next cycle. And so this is one of those projects that will probably continue to be on there. The next project, the Westport sewer improvements. Don kind of mentioned a little bit about this one. County ARPA funds have gone to support this. And really there's a lot more funding that's needed to complete the project and take the next step to do the biggest phase of the work. Then it's followed by 3 different bridge projects that would need to be the reconstruction of each of these bridges. They're kind of in order of priority in terms of lifeline routes. And right now, Public Works is continuing to perform the maintenance to keep these bridges operational. But it's really important that we look for the funding now in order for the reconstruction that's needed. And then the Old Milltown Road crossing is a component of the Westport Ferry Road project. And so previously we had talked about the Westport Ferry Road, but sometimes depending on where you are in a project and when the type of funding that a project can be eligible for. So in terms of where we are in the planning process, certain federal funding opportunities wouldn't apply. But in narrowing it down to this section and this project alone, which is a component of it, we would potentially be eligible in terms of where it's at currently. Do you have any questions about any of those projects?
Well, I'll tell you, I mean, that's about $20 million in asks from the state, but these are all necessary infrastructure projects that we need in this county. And I mean, your priority is probably based on where you live in the county and whether you're impacted by driving over a bridge or driving over, if you live in Westport, certainly that's your high priority issue, but they're all necessary. We have aging infrastructure in our county, and there's no way around it other than we need resources in order to fix up what's already in existence. But I appreciate you outlined all of these projects very well and summarized them very well. And I think we can definitely use this to communicate the need with our folks in Salem. Any comments or questions on the capital projects? Again, I think this is a great document. It's really nice to be able to see it all boiled down into this report and be able to share this with others and let everybody know where we stand. Any other comments, questions? All right. Well, thank you very much, Amanda. Great work.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Well, we've got time to kill. Looks like we've got about 40 minutes until our regular meetings. We don't have anything else on our work session. So we'll reconvene in about 40 minutes and start with our regular meeting. All right. Well, I've got 6 o'clock. We'll go ahead and get started. The Board of Commissioners, as the governing body of Clatsop County, all county service districts for which this board, and as the Clatsop County Local Contract Review Board is now meeting in regular session. So find a flag in your room or direct your attention to the screen. We'll go ahead and all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the
I-
United States of America,
America.
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And clerk of the board, can we have the roll call?
Chair Aquila,
Here.
Vice Chair Banks,
Here.
Commissioner Wakua,
Here.
Commissioner Webb,
Here?
Commissioner Thompson.
I'm here.
All right, thank you, Teresa. And we had an opportunity to review the agenda during our work session. Are we ready for a motion?
I move to approve.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve the agenda as presented. All those in favor signify with an aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, motion carries. Next is business from the public. It's an opportunity for anyone to give a 2-minute presentation about any item on the agenda, except for public hearings or any topic of county concern that is not on the agenda. Clerk of the board, are there any members of the public signed up to speak remotely?
No, there are not.
Okay, and since we are not meeting in person, we will go ahead and close business from the public and move on to the consent calendar. We've had an opportunity to review the consent calendar. Do we have any questions or comments on items on the consent calendar? Commissioner Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I didn't have any reason to remove these items from the consent calendar. I would say that I'm eager to receive program reports and explanations because I know that the updates to the funding proposed by the Criminal Justice Commission didn't happen, and I wonder about the impact on our community, and I'm just curious about the topic in general. So I'd like to hear more about it in the months to come.
Okay. Thanks. So noted, Commissioner Thompson. Thank you. Any other comments? Are we ready for a motion?
I move to approve consent calendar.
We have a second.
A second.
Moved and seconded to approve the consent calendar. All those in favor signify with an aye.
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 All those opposed? Okay, motion carries. We'll start with commissioner reports. Commissioner Thompson.
Thank you, Chair. It's been a busy little while. As I mentioned during a work session, I've been elected to the position of treasurer of the Association of Oregon Counties. It's a big honor for Clatsop County. The last time I recall anybody from Clatsop County was in a position on the board was I think it was 1951 in Judge Boynton. So I hope it's not that long again. We've already begun meeting and having strategic planning sessions and planning for the dues conversation, which will involve the well-being of the organization going into the future. Part of that conversation is Clatsop County, but it's a lot of other counties as well. Literally every one of them. Monday was the business summit, which was sobering because it was about Oregon being at a crossroads. What we can do as Clatsop County, what we can do as members of the Association of Oregon Counties, what we can do in any of the roles that we fill will matter because Oregon is at a crossroads. And the governor, I think, is hoping to facilitate economic development. We'll see how that goes, and we'll see how we can help that benefit folks in Clatsop County. LCDC continues. We just passed state housing production office rules. There were a number of concerns raised about the feasibility of those rules. I'll look forward, if I could, Chair and County Manager, hearing from our planning department about the impact on Clatsop County. I'd like to take that back and give a reality check, because even a commissioner who's a planner in Eugene was concerned that they weren't feasible to implement given all of the other changes and the workload for the planners around the state. Nevertheless, planning has to work for land use to work, for development to work, for conservation to work, for everything to work. So I'm your representative there. I'm eager to hear if you have anything you want me to know. I'll be listening the best I can to you and everybody else as I fulfill on those commitments, and I would call them joyful burdens. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner Thompson. And yes, I think it would be important for us to provide you information and feedback on land use and have you bring that forward. And congratulations on your elected position within AOC. That's a real testament to your leadership for a long period of time with that organization. And you said it was Judge Edison who last filled that position.
Judge Guy Boynton.
Judge Guy Boynton. Wow. Yeah, that is going back a while.
Long time.
Yeah, congratulations. That's great. We're proud of you to be representing Clatsop County in that capacity. Commissioner Banks.
Good evening, everyone. I'll start the report with I was able to attend the Cedar meeting to represent, along with the rest of our child care task force, and it was just a really enjoyable meeting to be able to celebrate our wins within the task force, and to have Eva and Chrissy share the slideshow of all of our successes, basically, and share with fellow business owners within our community, and hopefully facilitate some fundraising in order to sustain the grant program. Recently, we had a closure of Step Ahead, which is a Gearhart child care facility. And it is fortunate that we have this task force in place, because Eva and Chrissy were able to pivot and placed kids with an in-home provider, but also find kind of duct tape together a short-term resolution. And so I think having this task force present has really put us in touch with the providers within our community so that we can pivot and we don't have another Coriel's Crossing situation when that closure occurred, how it deeply impacted our community. We're instead able to be proactive versus reactive. And so it's just nice. So that's a win for Clatsop County, but also a win is the graph that was shown by Chrissy, and I will pull the slide deck and email it to everyone tomorrow morning. The graph shown displayed 2021 and then a straight trajectory up and then a slower paced trajectory, but we almost immediately jumped out of the preschool childcare desert post the moment we started this grant program. And so again, thank you to all fellow commissioners who supported the funding that originated this program. It's pretty awesome. I followed that with Northwest Senior and Disability Services. We're just working on contract negotiations, so can't really share that, but other than that is what we're doing right now. And moved into the Fair Board meeting last night, a very successful Fair Board meeting. It was nice to see community members come forward and request facility usage for the Natural Resources Dinner in January. Commonly we fundraise over $150,000 for school districts at this fundraiser. And so it's very exciting to potentially have, again, another fundraising dinner in January, and you're all invited. So please make sure you jump online and try to grab your ticket, because it's for these ecology natural resources, FFA programs across our county. And we will have our Fair Board appointments later this evening, which is very exciting. And I attended an FTLAC meeting that we just discussed, well, the FMP, but it wasn't really a useful discussion since the Board of Forestry didn't utilize the information the next day. They chose not to make a decision on decadal harvest levels. And so we are kind of just in a weird no man's zone of the forest management plan right now. There is a potential of another meeting here in December to just discuss other things within the FMP that could be brought forward. I haven't looked at my email yet to know the date and time for that. And last but not least, yeah, I think that's it. Oh, attended the Nutcracker. So for the very first time in my entire, tenure here or 2 decades here in Clatsop County, and it was amazing. And I'm kind of, you know, super proud of both our chair's children and my children. So anyhow, that's it for me.
Excuse me, Chair. I don't know, Commissioner Bangs, I don't know if you wanted to mention anything about the Napa Food Bank.
Yes, sorry. Thank you for bringing that up. So the Napa Food Bank was going through, you probably saw the news. They were potentially having to relocate from their current property there in Napa. But with county manager's support, and we were able to communicate with Lumen Company, and Lumen is providing the properties to the food bank from now until an undisclosed date. According to their realtor that contacted our food bank, they don't foresee that they will get evicted in their future. And so we're just gonna the food bank is going to go through a process of making sure that they do all the checks and balances for the realtor that services this property, such as insurance and whatnot. But it is very exciting to not have our food bank be kicked out of its location, and for these very, very wonderful women to be able to just keep moving forward and doing the great things that they do for our community. I am so pleased that Lumen Company was able to kind of change their trajectory and their ask once we were able to have some discussions about how important that property is to the community, and they were just very generous. So a big thank you to Lumen Company for their generosity, and a big thank you for these women that keep serving our food bank, and also a big thank you to County Manager for when Commissioner Bangs doesn't have time, County Manager potentially has time, maybe. So thank you.
Yeah, that's fantastic news, Commissioner Banks. Glad to hear that. And again, yes, kudos to our staff and to you for your work to assist. Certainly also with the child care task force, that sudden closure is every parent's worst nightmare, to have nowhere to go and have to go to work. And thank goodness that the task force has the infrastructure in place that they can make the connections and find a provider for each of those kids. That's just amazing to be able to do that in such short order. And then as far as the Nutcracker, yeah, your children were amazing. They did a fantastic job. And 3 sold out shows was a great tribute to the 50th anniversary and to Jeannie Maddox Peterson in her illustrious career, to be able to have that as their 50th performance. So it was a great weekend all around. Commissioner Webb?
Wrong button. I have to report that all of the animals in the Webb family are very happy tonight because they got they got dinner served a couple of hours early than they're accustomed to on the second and fourth Wednesdays. So they're actually all sound asleep now. That's how happy we all are. So thank you for that. Yeah, lots going on in the last couple of months. AOC, I think, was a particularly stunning a, a conference this year. The attendance was very, very good, and as always, um, there's just it's so wonderful to be able to get together with other commissioners from all over the county and to find out how very similar our trials and tribulations are, and then again, sometimes how different they are. And so it's always a huge, wonderful learning experience, and a really, really great event. And I was very pleased this year that our staff from Clatsop County, we had a really good turnout from the staff. And I think that's always good for them, because once again, it's always fun. Of course, a lot of the staff people get together a lot more often than we commissioners do. I think a lot of them meet monthly or every other month. Uh, and I'm glad that Commissioner Thompson brought up the changes that are coming down in some of our land use laws. I was actually hoping, and I'm sorry I met with county manager today and I meant to mention this, but I would like to see us do something actually locally, um, for our city planners in our 5 cities, for the number of also planning consultants and other people who do planning related work. I'd like to see us maybe do some kind of a webinar or something that could talk to them about what some of the big issues are uh, coming down, because I think it's going to be, well, I think we're going to have a lot of decisions to make. I think that since I've been following the Senate Bill 100 for all the years that it's been in play in Oregon, this is, I think what we're seeing is a very important kind of a reevaluation of what the last years have been about. And I would really like to see, I think it would be a great service to our local constituents and to our practitioners, if we could do something that would talk about how some of these decisions happened and how they're likely to play out. And I just would like to make that suggestion that perhaps, especially with our fantastic planning staff, and we have a lot of concerned citizens. I just would like to see us do something, to talk to give them a voice and some good solid information about how we are thinking these changes are going to play out. We also had our annual Northwest Workforce um, um, conference this fall, which was, as always, a wonderful escapade. I do have some sad news, and that is that we were very excited about the fact that about 2 years ago now, we were able to capture a very experienced um, maritime industry person to join the staff of NOW, and was working very closely and actually had already received, I think, 7 different grants to go to our industry, one of which was to the Port of Astoria. Unfortunately, that person has now left now, and so we will be seeking a replacement, because we really felt that that was an important sector for us to pay attention to. For instance, we had the the relocate or the closure of a major maritime facility in Lincoln City, which in the workforce world means an immediate call to action with federally funded money support to help people relocate and reinvent themselves and et cetera. So we're hoping that we can staff up quickly and reassess and go back out to help the industries in our region. The other thing I wanted to mention in reviewing all the wonderful things in our consent calendar tonight, I would recommend highly that that all commissioners go at least once a year to the specialty court graduations. They're one of the most satisfying ventures for me as a county commissioner. It's wonderful to see the interaction between our judges, primarily Bo Peterson, who administers these. It's wonderful to see in one room a celebration of all of the different factors, all the different folks professionally. Kenny Hansen is always there. Our behavioral health people are usually there. CCA is usually there. And it's such a wonderful event to celebrate the success, not only of someone who is in recovery and out of the woods, and the various people who very lovingly and professionally have walked that walk with former felons, and it's a very satisfying celebration of success, which I think we don't do enough of in this community. But I would they're easy to go to. They're just usually an hour or two, and there's always cake. But it's a very, very heartwarming. Really is a heartwarming place to spend a couple of hours. So I think that's all I've got.
Yeah, thank you very much, Commissioner Webb. And I do like the suggestion about having Gail provide us with information about the changes in land use. I think it is beneficial for not just the county, but for all of our cities to hear it. And she did such a fantastic job in the FEMA BIOP presentations and really boiling it down to what those impacts really are. So I think that's a very good suggestion.
Thank you.
Commissioner Wakua?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. So we had our CEDAR meeting on November 25th, which Commissioner Bangs was able to attend. And I will just say I really appreciate her being there. I was actually traveling out of state at the time of the meeting, but was able to join remotely, which has facilitated many of my meetings recently. So I'm grateful for that. And her presence couldn't have been more timely. So thank you for reporting on what you did, Commissioner Bangs. I will add to it that in my listening to the meeting, two other things that I think were worth noting is they have two board members' terms are expiring, and I think those two board members are just going to continue their interest in being members, and so that vote happened. And then the other thing that they reported on was that with Providence Seaside Hospital, their CEO, Rebecca, has transferred to another Providence hospital. And accordingly, Jason, who was the CNO, has stepped up as the interim CEO for Providence Seaside. And so he's got some shoes to fill, and he's busy. I saw him on Saturday at the Providence Festival of Trees, and he's doing a fabulous job. And yeah, so that was a great event to be at, and that's pretty much it, I think, for CEDAR that I was able to gather. On December 5th, we had the public safety meeting coordinating council safety meeting, and not a lot came out of that meeting. I was also traveling on this day, joined remotely as well. But the big thing that came out of this is that OSP is currently field training new staff. I believe it's 7 new staff, which will bring their patrol, also known as troopers, up to full staffing levels. And so in 2026, they'll have 24-hour coverage. And their next meeting will be the next meeting for public safety will be in March of next year. But that was pretty much the big news from public safety. Not much else to report on.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Waku. And I agree, Jason Plamondon is a great, he's been a great CNO, and he's going to be a very good interim CEO for Providence Seaside Hospital. He's a good guy, so it was really helpful to have him there and able to step right into that position when the vacancy occurred. Just real quickly, we have our COPAC and Northwest ACT meetings tomorrow in Seaside. The NOAA board met actually here at the Guy Boynton room last week. And thanks to Jim for his help with the IT for the room. The big topics, of course, were Clatsop Shores and what to do with Clatsop Shores. I know that that's been a property that has run at a loss year after year. And so there's a lot of strategic decisions yet to be made about what is the best course of action, how much money to actually put into fixing up Clatsop Shores, whether they will sell one of the buildings. So those are all the discussions that are currently being had and we have not come to a decision yet, waiting for more additional information. The Warrenton Library, I think that the NOAA building in Warrenton, they're looking to potentially sell to the city of Warrenton and relocate the Warrenton Library in that building. There's a negotiation that's taking place at this time. And then they're looking for a project manager. I know that that's been something that Andy's had on his plate for a long time, is to get a project manager on board to help with all of these projects. He's had to fill that role. And I know that he has a lot of other things that he needs to be attending to. So it'll be good to fill that position and give him some assistance. And then, of course, the Owens Adair 2 will be online, it looks like next month. So that really happened fast. So great news. And that's really all I have. I'll move on to the county manager. Commissioner Webb.
Yeah, I have a question. Several years ago, when I was the county's delegate to NOHA board, when we first started talking about building an additional building, I thought we went to a great deal of spent a lot of energy in coming up with a suggested list of names of women who had been important in the early days of providing medical care and in Astoria. And I remembered that learning in that escapade that apparently in the 19th century, when hospitals really sort of began to come into their own and to be the kind of sophisticated, obviously not places that they are now, but began to be better organized, and that women were a very, very important part of that, apparently at all levels of care. Apparently there was an enormous need for the kinds of folks who we would now call kind of starter what's the word I'm looking for? Nurses, people who weren't necessarily heavily educated in medicine, but served in very important functions within the hospital setting. And so I was very disappointed when I started to hear about Owens 2. I thought we had made a decision that we would seek, maybe do a public survey or something, ask the historical folks to help us with some names that might be more appropriate and more historically accurate about, because after all, the new building is going right on the site of the first real serious medical facility in Clatsop County. And so I just wondered what happened. I mean, was the decision consciously made not to go that route, or did it just fall by the wayside?
No, they have talked about that, and Chair Ozer has had briefed us about some name changes. There has been some input about changing the name. So I don't have an update right now, but I know that that discussion's ongoing.
Oh, good. Okay, good. Thank you. Thank you.
And County Manager.
Chair Creeley, members of the board, I'll be real quick. Just a reminder that the Business Oregon Commission, it will be meeting in Astoria Thursday and Friday. I did send an invite for a reception tomorrow evening at 5:30 at Fort George. I've been invited to talk with the commission on Friday. I'm gonna have lunch with them. And the topic that they've asked me to talk about are the economic headwinds that Clatsop County is facing. I think as part of that conversation, I'll be talking about some of our experience with North Coast Business Park, um, and some ideas that I think the county has about how we might interface with the state a little bit different, which would really spur economic development. Economic development and the barriers are not just, the big ticket items like taxes. Sometimes they're just the boots on the ground work between agencies that would actually allow us to get this done. You have North Coast Business Park that's been in the planning stages for 40 years. It's a regionally significant project. We just need to get all the right people in the room at the right time and figure out a way to get to yes. And it's going to take the state to really help us do that, for that to really move forward. But most of our challenges are just navigating state agencies regarding regulations. So I am going to talk also about the need for a Clatsop County Economic Development Strategic Plan. We did the economic opportunities analysis, but what we really need is a very specific plan. And then have part of that strategic planning work, talk about what kind of structure and resources need to be put into place to actually implement a strategic plan. So it'll be interesting to see where that maybe ultimately goes. But I am excited to meet with them and talk more about Clatsop County. I think Business Oregon, to their credit, has been a great partner. They funded infrastructure, they funded roads. They're very present, and they are involved in a lot of the priority work that the county, the port, the cities are all doing. So I do want to thank them for all of their efforts as well. And that's all I have, Chair.
Yeah, thank you, County Manager. Commissioner Thompson.
Well, what a dandy opportunity. I wonder if Regional Solutions will be present at those conversations, because maybe they can leverage some actions.
That was the question I had, Commissioner Thompson. Is good one.
But I think, yeah, I'm not sure who, but I will reassure that I've had these conversations with Regional Solutions too. I think, just not without getting into all the weeds of this conversation, but I think, one of the things local governments are really adept at is to get things done. And how we do that is, we have variance processes. We are, very intimately collaborative with our partner agencies. We can work through problems. And what we're always looking at is how to get something done. And I think when you think about the state comes as independent, I would say siloed agencies. And so when you have like a North Coast Business Park and you have 3 or 4 state agencies plus the county plus the city, if all those agencies come as siloed agencies and their role and their goal is to enforce their policies, their rules, the kind of confluence of all those different silos and their rules is that the project can't move forward. And it's because everybody wants to get 100% compliance with their rules, with their policies, with their processes. What it's going to take for us to like get forward momentum on things like the North Coast Business Park is to bring a group together that has the authority to say, you know what, we can approve a variance to this element of our rules. It may take our compliance with all of our rules from 100% to 98%, but if that 98% means that this project moves forward, then that's what's in the best interest of not just Clatsop County, City of Warrenton, but the state. And so at some point, we have to get that kind of relevance on the table for these projects to actually move forward. Because if everybody gets 100% compliance with their own rules, but it means that a project doesn't happen, that just is not serving the public purpose that we are all working so hard to actually fulfill. And if we can't develop North Coast Business Park, then I'm really nervous about what it's going to look like moving forward for the Clatsop County economy, because this is the largest and most developable industrially zoned parcel in the entire county. So if not here, there is nowhere else. So I'm not trying to be dour about all that, but somehow we have to just figure out how to work differently as agencies to get to yes on these regionally significant projects. And I don't think it's a big lift. It's just going to take some agreement that we're all going to be a little bit flexible as we go through this. So we will see. And I'm sure I'll be talking to your board more about that as we move forward. So thank you.
Well said, County Manager. I think we need to, well, we've recorded what you just said, so we need to share it out a little bit more because I think it was very well put. Commissioner Thompson.
Well, yeah, agreed, Chair. And County Manager, you and I talked about this, and I hot-footed and talked to Amelia Porterfield and talked to her again. And then the governor stood up in front of God and everybody Monday at that business summit and said that she was going to kickstart development in Oregon. I just think things should be looking good now. We should get to yes. And I'm Scottish, so I think doer is a very good thing. But we can be cheerful about this because I think we can go forward. I do think we're in the right place at the right time, saying the right things, and we are unified behind it. That's for sure. So good luck.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner Thompson. Yes, and good luck, County Manager, on Friday.
Thank you.
All right, we will move on to the business agenda. First is the authorizing a loan from the Clean Water State Revolving Loan Fund through Oregon Department of Environmental Quality, page 146, and Dean Keranen, Assistant Public Works Director. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, Chair Aquila and Commissioners. I'm here seeking authorization of a $100,000 DEQ forgivable loan for Westport Sewer. This is the final piece of funding needed to move forward with the final engineering for that project out there. The fact that it's forgivable means that once the project is completed, we will no longer owe any money on it. So, and the project itself is the engineering. So I'm here if you have any questions for me.
Any questions? Okay, are we ready for a motion?
I move to authorize the chair to sign the resolution and order in the matter of authorizing a loan from the Clean Water State Revolving Loan Fund in the amount of $100,000 through the Oregon Department of Environmental Quality.
I second.
Moved and seconded to authorize the chair to sign the resolution and order in the matter of authorizing a loan from the Clean Water State Revolving Loan Fund in the amount of $100,000 through the Oregon Department of Environmental Quality. All those in favor signify with an aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you, Dean.
Thank you.
Next item is appointments to the Fair Board, page 177. And our Fairgrounds Manager, Kyle Sharpstein, I just saw for a second.
Yeah.
Hey, Kyle.
Hi, guys. I don't know what's going on with that camera.
We can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, so you guys did interviews for the Fair Board applicants at your work session. I think it was in early November. Last night at the Fair Board meeting, they discussed it. There's four of the members are candidates, so they weren't necessarily wanting to make us a recommendation, but the consensus that I got from the board was that they felt like their team was really just coming together. The majority of them have really only been on the board for a year or less, and that they feel like they're just really figuring out what what it takes to put the fair on and to run this place. So that was the input from the fair board, and this is the time for you guys to make the decisions.
Okay, thank you very much, Kyle. Do we have any comments, questions, Commissioner Bangs?
Only comment being that this group has just recently all come together, and I feel like I agree with them. They're just now getting their wheels on the bus and learning to work with each other. And I think, let's let them go forth and continue is my thought process.
Okay, any other comments, questions? Commissioner Wakua.
Yeah, thank you. I think I'm going to defer to Commissioner Bangs' expertise and involvement in the group and second that motion. I know me joining this board, I kind of look at that as the same momentum that getting your footing and helping build those block stones are kind of imperative to being able to make real change. And so I agree with that.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Wakua. Any other comments, questions? As I look at this, then we are appointing 4 positions for terms ending December 31st, 2028. Commissioner Wakua?
Yeah, sorry. One afterthought is that I wanted to mention I did look at the other applications and I just want to thank them for applying. I think they were great applicants. It's nothing against the information or material that I read in the applications themselves. I would encourage them to stay on top and continue to apply because I think they will serve a purpose at some point if they continue to want to be involved. And I just appreciate them applying. That's all.
Yeah, well said, Commissioner Wakua. Do we have any further discussion? Are we ready for a motion?
I move that we approve John, I'm going to butcher last names. I apologize. If anybody knows how to pronounce these correctly, it would be great. John Cahermanes,
The Karamanis?
Karamanes, Kyle.
I struggle with it as well. That sounds pretty close. Yeah.
Okay, Mallory
Lighthizer?
Lichthauser,
Lighthizer.
Joel Homelak, and Abigail Goodman. And for those listening, I apologize. With a term ending December 31st, 2028 to the Clatsop County Fair Board. And if somebody wants to give me corrections on pronunciations, I am receptive.
I'd like to second that motion.
Okay, moved and seconded to approve John Karamanes, Mallory Lighthizer, Joel Homelak, and Abigail Goodman with a term ending December 31st, 2028 to the Clatsop County Fair Board. All those in favor signify with an aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Yeah,
All right.
And
Thank you very much, Kyle.
We'll try to get the other applicants still involved.
Yes,
So,
I really appreciate what Commissioner Wakua had to say because I think they were all strong candidates, great interviews. Really appreciated getting to hear from all of them. But I do think that the point that we want to, get this team together for a little longer and see them gel and work together and produce good things, I think that is a point well taken. So thank you very much. Appreciate it.
thank you.
Next is the appointment of additional property value appeals board members. Page 193, and Tracy Kervenko, our county clerk. Welcome.
Thank you, Commissioner and Board. Tonight, we have the appointment of additional property value appeal board members. When I came to you in October, we had Commissioner Huakua as the appointed governing body in the middle of his term. So he's expiring in 26. And we only had one applicant of David Ozer, and his term will expire June 30th, 2027. I went out for additional calls of people and had additional 2 people apply, and I think they will be a great addition to the board. And ORS 309067 subsection 5 allows for new appointments at any other time upon the request of the clerk at a regular meeting of the governing body. So they would both be non-office holding positions with a term that expires June 30th, 2027. And this appointment will fulfill the projected needs for the board members for the term appointment to which the pools are prepared. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tracy. I have a confession to make. I read this at first, and I had thought that this was a 3-member board. And I thought, oh my gosh, we're going to have to make a decision on one of these, not both. And thank God we get to pick both of them, because they are both such qualified candidates to serve in these positions and join Commissioner Wakua on that board. So yeah, I'm so glad that I misread it to begin with.
Yeah, we need a minimum of 3.
Yeah,
I can have a pool bigger than that, which makes it very convenient if there's a conflict of interest.
that's great. Yeah, these are both great members here. Any questions, discussion? Are we ready for a motion?
I move to approve the appointment of Linda Moreland and Tom Hardy as non-office holding board members of the Property Value Appeals Board for the 2-year term beginning December 10th, 2025 and ending June 30th, 2027.
I second that, and I appreciate the company.
Moved and seconded to approve the appointment of Linda Moreland and Tom Hardy as a non-office holding board members of the Property Value Appeals Board for the 2-year term beginning December 10th, 2025 and ending June 30th, 2027. All those in favor signify with an aye.
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 All those opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you, Tracy.
Thank you,
Good job.
Commissioners.
Next, Human Services Advisory Council membership recommendation, page 199. Jill Quackenbush, welcome. Can't hear you, Jill.
You're muted.
There,
There.
found it, got it.
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay, let's start over again then. So good evening, Chair Coelho, members of the board. At your last work session on December 3rd, we shared with you that the 9-member Human Services Advisory Council has 1 open vacancy. Currently, they are at 8. And in September, they had a call for applications and are now recommending Nicholas Bowling from District 3 to fill this position with a term expiring on February 28th, 2027.
Great. Yeah, thank you very much, Jill. Public Health Division Manager, Jill Quackenbush. Do we have any discussion? Are we ready for a motion?
I move to appoint Nicholas Bowling to the Human Services Advisory Council for terms expiring on February 28th, 2027.
I second.
Moved and seconded to appoint Nicholas Bowling to the Human Services Advisory Council for terms expiring on February 28th, 2027. All those in favor signify with an aye.
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 All those opposed? Okay, motion carries. Great. Thank you, Jill.
Thank you.
Next, we have a public hearing on ordinance 25-15 to amend section 1.1 of the Administrative Code This is on page 202 of our agenda. And this is the time set for a public hearing on ordinance number 25-15. County Council, may we have the first reading by title only?
This is ordinance number 2025-15 in the matter of an ordinance amending Clatsop County Code Section 1.04.010 list of established county departments.
Okay, thank you, County Council. And County Manager Don Boone, may we have the staff report?
Chair Quilla, members of the board, you might recall a work session in a prior month where we outlined the county's intention of consolidating two of our existing departments into one. It was actually completed as part of the fiscal year 2025-26 budget, but we did need to formalize it in the administrative code. And so this ordinance updates the list of designated county departments to include Health and Human Services. It also updates the list to remove administrative services and to also add the county manager's office. The second thing that the ordinance does is it does recognize the MOU between the Fair Board and the Board of Commissioners. That's important because the MOU guides what the supervision and the management relationship is between the Fair Board and the county. And then the third is just to really clarify that when the county manager is out of the office temporarily, that the assistant county manager or a designee will be assuming those responsibilities. But if that the county manager cannot serve or the position is vacant, that the board would be appointing an interim county manager. So just to clarify how those different elements work, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for the county manager? All right, we'll go ahead and open the public hearing on ordinance number 25-15. Does any commissioner have a conflict of interest to report?
No.
Not seeing any. Clerk of the board, are there any members of the public sign up to speak remotely?
No, they're not.
Okay. We'll go ahead and close the public hearing on ordinance number 25-15. And do we have a motion?
Yes. I move to conduct the first reading of ordinance 25-15 by title only, open public hearing, take testimony, continue the hearing until January 14th, 2025.
And a second?
A second.
Move seconded to conduct the first reading of ordinance 25-15 by title only, open public hearing, take testimony, and continue the hearing until January 14th, 2026. All those in favor signify with an aye.
I
Aye. All those opposed? Okay, motion carries.
And thank you, Chair Quila, for catching my little error. So
No worries. Thank you, County Manager. Thank you, County Council, and thank you, Clerk of the Board. Do we have anything for the good of the order? Okay, we'll go ahead and adjourn. Have a good rest of your week, everybody. We'll see you.